Hi everyone, welcome back to Nasedyanka, the channel where I talk about Bulgarian history, customs, traditions, and faith. So we are nearing the end of our great Lent period of time and entering the week before Pascha. So I thought about creating this episode and as much as possible festive attire. Of course, I'm wearing my, flowers and the flower wreath. It's not as festive as Bulgarian girls in Bulgaria actually would go because I live abroad and I don't have access to, I don't have easy access to those clothes and items as much as they do there. Nonetheless, here I am with the little I have. I can provide you some little entertainment, fun, and informativeness. So I will also include some pictures at the beginning and at the end of this episode so that you can actually see what happens in Bulgaria and you may relate it with the content of this video. So this is episode 14 and it is dedicated to Velikden. In other words, we call this Great Day. And in English, that stands for Pascha. Now, the Roman Catholic and Protestant churches will know this as Easter. So, as you guys know, all the sources that I'm using to translate and share with you, I also copy and paste the resources and I put them in the comments section area. So if you want to refer to that, feel free. So fine, okay. So Pascha is the brightest holiday for the Orthodox Christian world. On this day, the Orthodox Church honors the resurrection of God's Son, Jesus Christ. The holiday is called movable in the Orthodox tradition as the date shifts every year. It is celebrated on the Sunday of Holy Week, which includes many daily and sometimes several per day services, which makes it rich and intense. In the Orthodox tradition, which is Bulgaria's yoke of tradition, we boil and dye eggs early in the morning on Great Thursday, or sometime during the day whenever we have the time, because there are also many services that keep that week very busy. Traditionally, the color is red and it relates to Christ's blood as well as a story about Mary of Magda who brought a red egg, symbol of the resurrection. Now, this is not necessarily Orthodox tradition, but Bulgarians will often save the first egg and place it in a prominent place in their house where it will replace last year's egg. So we Bulgarians will keep it as a symbol of a blessing, health, well-being, and goodness to all of the inhabitants of the house. You may wonder now, so doesn't this egg spoil and stink all year round? How can you possibly save it for any longer than a week? But surprisingly, it does not. My family used to follow this custom, this tradition, and over the course of many decades, the egg probably spoiled one single time, and for what I remember, and I don't have a clear memory, but all the rest of the times it was there. I remember Mama would always check the old egg, and it did not stink, and it did not look rotten, and no, it was just whole and normal. So you won't eat it, of course, at the end of the year. We don't eat that egg, but those eggs never smelled like anything bad at all, or anything at all. So my family would place them by an icon, the icon corner, and that was that. Again, that's not Orthodox. You don't have to be doing it if you're Orthodox. This is just a Bulgarian modification. So clearly that was my personal input here. I'm going back to sharing with you the information which I picked up from an article. So the next piece of information is that fighting with the Paschal eggs is one of the funnest moments of this day, Velikden for us, the great day, Pascha. So kids usually look forward to it with great impatience and joy. Some Bulgarians will connect this custom with a reminder of the struggle of health and well-being over the next 12 months. In other words, how this is done, basically, it's a game. So the children, each child will take one egg and they'll face, so two can play at once. So they'll face each other and they have to hit the egg. Front goes with front, back goes with back. And you have to be patient, you have to adjust it, you have to hit it, and you basically see who is the winner. The winner is the one whose egg remains whole. So let's say that you and I are playing this and my front breaks, but your back breaks. So your front is whole, my back is whole. I go to somebody else and we have to again do front to front, back to back until there is one winner. It's a game. Another important part of Velikden, again Pascha, or Great Days customs, is the preparation of the Paschal cake, which we call kuzunak. It's a very sweet, fine cake that has strings inside, so it has it involves a lot of preparation, and I'll be happy to share the recipe with you later. So some say that it symbolically represents the body of Christ. And then the Velikdensky kuzunak, or this Paschal cake, is in Bulgaria, was actually introduced at the beginning of the 20th century. In the past, up until then, Pascha was celebrated with various different like Paschal ritual breads and pies. Traditionally, on this bright and holy day, all family members will change into their new, fresh clothes, symbolizing the emerging of new life or the resurrection that awaits us, as by the example of the resurrection of Christ. This is indeed a great and holy day, so to speak, than maybe even like greater than Christmas, the Nativity. And I don't like comparing because old church, Orthodox church history, holidays carry a deep spiritual significance. The only reason I mention this is because in comparison to the Western world, I have noticed that the Nativity or Christmas represents one of their biggest holidays, whereas, again, like I said, in the Orthodox tradition, in Bulgaria included, the resurrection is huge. It gives us hope for existence. It gives us hope to look forward to something, to the life after. Anyways, it involves obviously a lot of mystery, history, and mystery. So at midnight before Pascha, a lengthy service is actually held in the Orthodox Christian Church, and at midnight the priest will announce the resurrection of the Son of God with the words "Christ is risen" in English. In Bulgarian language we say "Christos Voskrese," and in response to those who are present in the church, they will say "Indeed he is risen," or in Bulgarian we'll say "Neistina" or "Voistina Voskrese." Old Bulgarian is "Voistina," New Bulgarian is "Neistina." The priest takes a lighted candle then, and there is a magnificent procession around the church. For 3 times we go around the church. And in Bulgaria, traditionally, we, the people, the laity, will try to actually preserve the flame of our candles, maintaining the burning flame all the way until we get back home. It's kind of like you're bringing a blessing, you're bringing the flame, the reminder, the symbol of this resurrection. It is powerful. It's a beautiful experience. And if you have never experienced Pascha in the Orthodox Church and you're interested, I heartfully recommend that, because this is really a special and unique experience. Very profound and spiritually rejuvenating. So, Professor and proto-presbyter Nikolai Shivorov is Bulgarian, born in 1930. He's a Bulgarian biblical scholar and linguist, professor and doctor of theology. He teaches at the Theological Faculty of Sofia, Veliko Trnovo, and the New Bulgarian University. He's also the author of numerous works with a wide range of topics. His main areas of research are the interpretation of the Old Testament, issues concerning Old Testament history, biblical archaeology, and hermeneutics. So he wrote a short publication on one of our Orthodox Christian websites, which is entitled The Resurrection of Christ, Pascha or Velikden. And then it says, why do we celebrate the resurrection of Christ differently from other Christians? I wanted to share this with you guys. So he says the following. He says, Jesus Christ was resurrected after the Jewish Pesach or Passover, so the Christian holiday is naturally dependent on the Jewish one. Passover or Pesach is a holiday associated with the Exodus from Egypt. At the First Ecumenical Council in the year of 325, it was decided that the resurrection of Christ should be celebrated on the Sunday after the full moon, after the vernal equinox. If for some reason Pascha cannot be celebrated on the Sunday after the Passover, then according to the decisions of that council, it should be celebrated 1 month later. Until the Gregorian calendar came into force in the 14th century, there was no difference between the Eastern and the Western Pascha. So in the West, Catholics and Protestants calculate the date of resurrection according to the new calendar. Please refer to my previous episodes where I spoke about the problem with the modern calendar, and you will recognize them because I entitled them episodes 12 and 13, Modernism, Ecumenism, and the Calendar Matter. In the meantime, our Orthodox Church follows the old traditional Julian calendar for the so-called movable holidays such as Pascha. Now, Dr. Shivarov explains how the Orthodox churches that accepted the new calendar, how they operate. So basically, for fixed holidays, they follow the new calendar, or as he says, the so-called corrected Julian calendar, which was corrected in the 1920s by Greek astronomers and some other people I mentioned. Again, just watch my previous episode, please, on the calendar matter, because it's a huge matter and it can add a lot of understanding of self and truth. Exceptions are the Jerusalem, Russian, and Serbian Orthodox churches in general, but I want to add also to what he says, because there are more old calendar churches. You have to be careful now where you go because there can be some deceptions. But for example, the monasteries on Mount Athos, they are remaining in communion with the Orthodox Christian Church, and they follow old calendar. That's a long story, and I will talk in the future someday because it's a very complex and important part of information that we all must know about our Holy Orthodox Church, but it's definitely not gonna be able to fit into the content of my current video. So I'll continue with Dr. Shivarov's words. He says that it is correct to say Western and Eastern rather than Catholic and Orthodox Pascha, because in the West, both Catholics and Protestants celebrate the resurrection on the same Sunday, while in the East, there are deep differences. The ancient Chalcedonian churches, such as the Armenian one, celebrate Easter according to the Gregorian calendar, and some Protestants, such as the Pentecostal Church in Bulgaria, unfortunately, that has spread there as very false, crooked deceptive paths, celebrated on the same day as the Orthodox. Nonetheless, basically there is clearly no complete unity either in the East or in the West, but on some years the Western and the Eastern Passover celebrations end up on the same day. They coincide. That's just a detail, but it's important for those who care about the Orthodox Church. So as a side note here, I'm gonna add again and again and again, please watch my videos on ecumenism and the calendar matter, because it sheds clarity into understanding how the Orthodox Church is completely different from Roman Catholics and Protestant denominations. Very different. So if you guys are interested, it really deserves an in-depth and open mind of a perspective. The Orthodox Church is not at all a denomination. It simply cannot be, because it is the original church, and yes, the church, has been preserved, and she continues to live to this date. I know this often sounds as a metaphor, unbelievable to Westerners. That's why I'm emphasizing this, so that you guys can hear it again and again. It's a fact. And I say a fact because you can follow facts and history as well as the timeline to actually go back. It's going to be complex, it's difficult, it takes a long time of hard effort, but it is something that can be proven factually. As I mentioned earlier, the entire week and weeks of the Lenten period before Pascha is very busy and beautiful for the Orthodox Christian Church. So in Bulgaria, Lazarov Den, in other words, Lazarus Day, resurrecting Lazarus Day, as well as Palm Sunday, which we call Vrobnica, are the most cheerful holidays of during spring of this time period. Here is another article that was published in a National Geographic issue on April the 16th, the year 2022, by Ani Maneva, which I wished to share with you guys. The title is One of the Most Cheerful Holidays of Spring, which is the day when the maidens engage in Lazaruvane. So this is going to go now into a couple of Bulgarian traditional customs. So Lazarus Day is a popular Bulgarian custom known in almost the entire Bulgarian ethnic territory, as well as among the compact groups of Bulgarian settlers abroad. As immigrants, that is to say. It is commonly performed by older adolescent girls who are growing into womanhood, and it represents a turning point in which a girl becomes a young woman, so she can publicly court a boy, she can have a beloved, or as well as she can get married. In the Bulgarian tradition, Lazarov Den, or Lazarus Day, is also a holiday for the fields associated with pastures and forests. The day is also called Lazarova Saturday, Lazarnica, Lazar, and it always falls on a Saturday. In many places in Bulgaria, nonetheless, Lazarus customs can be and are performed by girls younger, so they may be aged 5 to 6 or 10 to 12 years of age, as they simply have a lot of fun. So at the beginning of Great Lent, they actually begin to prepare for this holiday by learning Lazarus songs and games. So it can become very exciting and engaging for the children during a fasting, otherwise, in a period of time which is requiring a lot of self-probing and contemplation. In places in the Thracian region, as well as the Rhodope mountain region, and yes, you guys, these are actual preserved names of literal Bulgarian regions. They have been preserved. The names are preserved since antiquity, and they can tell a lot about our history of Thrace and the Rhodope Mountains being some of the oldest. Anyways, in those regions of Thrace and Rhodope, laceration, so-called laceration, takes place on 2 consecutive Saturdays. The first Saturday is for the little girls, and the second Saturday, appropriately, is for the older adolescent girls or maidens. I mean, when I say adolescents, it's really late adolescents, so that they are the ones who are transitioning, like I said, into womanhood. So therefore, these 2 days are known as Little Lazarus and Big Lazarus in Bulgaria. From early morning until noon, the little Lazarki, or Lazarus girls, go around the homes in the village where they sing and dance traditional Bulgarian horo dance, traditional dances. Then the owners of the houses will present them with goods, which they collect in little baskets. Now, some Bulgarians who have not been following the Orthodox Christian tradition in modern day, in the last few decades, basically may give eggs, and that's not appropriate because, like I said, Great Lent is time up for fasting. But then again, not everybody fasts from the foods that we typically connect with that fast. So maybe it can be, again, some people may have that blessing, so it may actually apply. I just say that so that we can keep an open mind. So on Big or Gulam Lazarus Day, which we call Lazarov Den, the older girls, who are called Lazarki, dress up in bright Bulgarian folk dresses, decorated with flowers all over, and they probably have been taken from recently married women, maybe like borrowed, right? So they wear ornaments that carry deep symbolism. Unlike the small Lazarki, the older girls will engage in specific games combined with an extraordinarily rich repertoire of Lazarus songs. The choice of songs depends on which home they visit. So it depends on the members of the family, as well as on the professional background of those people, such as like whether the girls are visiting a shepherd or a priest, a teacher, and so forth, or a family member of a special status like a godparent, a sponsor, and so forth. It may also depend on the benevolent wishes of the hosts. So the host might wish to hear certain songs, so the girls love to perform those. This is all performed for goodness, fun, out of joy, and again, it is preserved from very old ancient times. So the Lazarus girls sing of symbols of a young bride with a baby in her arms at home, and the Bulgarian dances and songs also will incorporate gestures of that. So they sing of love, of maidens and bachelors, of the bridegroom, of beauty and dignity of the bride. They sing of her joy with her beloved man, chosen, her beloved, chosen man. And they sing of children within marriage. They sing of the large, connected, and agreeable unit which the family represents in our Bulgarian culture. They sing of the wealth and hospitality of the host as well. So, as a side note, you guys can see how Bulgarians express life's transitions through songs and very specific customs. Along with this, the tradition, these customs and songs include, they basically include a few more particularly interesting and ancient customs that are known as Buenets, Lazarus Bride, and Kumichene. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this in my follow-up episode. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining. Nasedyanka. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.